Welcome to Cybersecurity Sense, a weekly podcast providing updates and insight into the latest in cybersecurity, brought to you by LBMC Information Security. Now, here's your host.
Hi, I'm Bill Dean, Senior Manager here at LBMC Security. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about attackers that focus on attacking specifically the information security supply chain. The article comes from Cisco Talos Group, and obviously we will have a full link in the show notes, but the first article, there's going to be two that we discuss. CCleaner Command and Control causes concern. So CCleaner, owned by Avast, is described as a computer security product as it is designed to clean up the crap on computers such as temporary files, internet histories, cookies, super cookies, form histories, index.dat files. It also destroys, and note that I'm saying destroys, not deletes, destroys files in the Windows recycle bin, link files, jump lists, memory dumps, and many log files. So for those of us that work in forensics, we also categorize this as an anti-forensics tool, not so much a security tool. As the previously mentioned artifacts, those are many of the things that we're leveraging when we're performing digital forensics. So again, the C in CCleaner stands for crap cleaner. Just as a pro tip, don't try to use CCleaner to clean up your device before any type of forensic analysis. It looks like a bull in a china shop, and it's very obvious what's going on. And oh yeah, we know when you've executed it and how many times you've executed it. But I digress. Kind of got on that soapbox because we're calling it a computer security tool when really I see it as an anti-forensics tool. Outside of that, let me get off my soapbox real quick. So Cisco's Talos Group, and Talos is a real high-end security group within Cisco. Very, very, very impressive. They disclosed on September 18th that CCleaner version 5.33 was actually bundled with some malware, and it was actually digitally signed by Piriform, which is the CCleaner developer. And it was released on August 15, 2017. So just kind of put this in context, there was a version of CCleaner. They'd advertised, I think, 5 million downloads. The attackers actually signed the malware with the digital signature. That is pretty sophisticated. So the 5.33 version was being downloaded from the legitimate Avast. So Avast purchased the CCleaner product. Avast download servers as early as September 11th of 2017. So as I mentioned at the time, CCleaner was boasting that they were adding about 5 million users per week. So think about how large this distribution is. The initial article from Talos that I was reading, so it determined that the malware simply gathered some information, what rights did the logged on user have, running processes, did a machine inventory, and some command and control communications. As an incident responder, working on a lot of high-end malware analysis, I really didn't see anything concerning about what it was doing on those devices with the first report. Yes, very sophisticated. They got into the supply chain, created a version that had malware in it, digitally signed it, but I'm thinking there had to have been much more than this. So while the successful attack of the vendor and the bundling of the malware was without detection, the payload or intent just really didn't seem that severe to me. Then Talos was able to, I'm air quoting, obtain information from the command and control server. So I always smile when an extremely smart group of people just happen to obtain this type of information, and I'll just kind of leave that there. So the command and control actually had a second payload that was specific for technology companies that, once we go through the list, you'll see probably have some information, some intellectual property of extreme value. So essentially, according to Talos, the tech corporations included HTC, Samsung, Sony, VMware, Intel, Microsoft, Cisco, ironically, Linksys, Google, MSI, and there are a few others. So what happened, if you were beaconing back to this command and control from one of those companies, there was a second payload. The second payload actually had a feature field backdoor if you were the intended target. So the 5 million or so, or however many may have been infected and downloaded that version, they weren't the target. They were just caught up in the net. They were really after those specific companies. So some takeaways, espionage from nation states, and we all know who we're typically talking about when we say nation states, it's not been in the limelight so much of late. But with this attack, I think it's definitely back, as sophisticated as this is. This is about the level of skill and patience, who has the level of skill and patience to pull this off? It's not your everyday attacker. It is a nation state with a group of people. And also think about who would target these specific companies. we all pretty sure we have an idea as to who that may have been. Whether there's agreements between the countries or not, the United States still has some extremely valuable information that other nation states would like to have. While this was sophisticated, it's actually impressive if you think about it. It's not the first time something like this has happened. And think about it. Just a couple of months ago, with the Netya, or however you want to pronounce the ransomware worm, it was actually distributed through an update from an accounting software firm that had a primary customer, base that was in the Ukraine. So after a couple of sophisticated cyber attacks that took out some power grids during some times of conflict with Russia, many feel that Russia was actually behind the spreading of the Petya. There's going to be more linked to this logical accusation will be in the show notes, but unfortunately the people outside of Ukraine, they were just also caught up in the net. There are actually some hospitals here in the United States that ended up with that destructive ransomware. But that's another supply chain attack. But back to the nation-state aspect, and where I think this may be coming back on us again. In 2013, the popular whitelisting company at the time, Bit9, was also compromised in a supply chain fashion attack. What they were able to do is to get some bad malware hashes into the whitelist. That would allow that malware to exist into some of the environments in which Bit9 was protected. Those environments, when you look at the customer list, were definitely, those client lists were very targeted companies by China. And so that attack was attributed to China somewhat, and there'll be some information in the show notes. Going backwards, in 2012, Adobe experienced a breach of one or more of their digital certificates. So this gave the attackers the ability to digitally sign malware with Adobe certificate. Also, some feel that China was involved in that. Probably one of the most infamous supply chain attacks actually occurred in 2011, actually one of the first that I can remember. This is when RSA was attacked successfully for the root seed for their secure ID, or what we all know as their multi-factor technology. Again, this one was attributed to China. I guess the takeaway overall is, for a patient and a skilled adversary, with focus on IP espionage, supply chain attacks may become popular again. And so the espionage aspect of attacking is probably not over. I think we're going to start seeing more and more of it. And this attack on CCleaner is a pretty good indication of that. Some upcoming speaking engagements. I will be speaking on healthcare cybersecurity issues at the Tennessee Bar Association's 29th Annual Health Law Forum in Nashville on October 6th. I will also be speaking at the Utility Conference Association on October 18th, 2017 in Pigeon Forge. And for both of those, actually for all of these, there's some details in the show notes as you can sign up and get some more information. Also going to be speaking on digital forensics at the TSCPA Healthcare Conference in Nashville on November 27th. So in closing, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed some of this content. Tune in next week for the next episode. If you have a particular topic that you'd like to hear in this podcast, please contact me and let me know at bdean@lbmcsecurity.com. To learn more about LBMC Security and the services we provide, please visit lbmcsecurity.com.